We started this discussion last month on what it takes to be a nutritionist in Kenya, trusting that you've been well. So today we are going deeper into the schooling component, which schools or what course can you take to be a nutritionist, the registration with KNDI, what pathways you can pursue as a nutritionist, and then what it takes for you to maintain your membership as a registered nutritionist in Kenya, and we will finalize with the recommendations. So welcome. I'll start with a story. Some time back, an old acquaintance reached out to me because their nephew had actually failed KCSE. And they thought that the only course they can do is nutrition. So today I'm going to demystify that myth that nutrition is a course for those who failed. It is not. You'll be shocked that for you to be a nutritionist in Kenya, you need first to be very good at your sciences. So in Kenya, we have institutions that offer nutrition as a course, either as a certificate level, diploma level, or degree level. And there are various subject clusters that you're required to meet in order for you to enroll as a nutrition student. And they vary with institutions. Now, let's check what are the minimum requirements for you to be enrolled as a nutritionist in Kenya or as a nutrition student in Kenya. I see the certificate you need to have a D plain minimum. A diploma is a C minus, and a degree is a C plus. Then looking at the subject clusters requirements, I see it says that it varies by institutions, but I won't lie to you. You need to be good at chemistry, biology, mathematics as well. And that reminds me, I actually did a unit on anatomy while I was doing my undergraduate. So that tells you that you need to be good in your sciences. Let's talk about which schools offer nutrition as a course. One, they must be accredited by KNDI for you to be able to know that that institution is qualified or allowed to offer nutrition as a course. I recall during my time, many years back, we didn't have KNDI back then. So the process, I'm sure, has changed right now. And I would be happy to hear from the young nutritionist. What has been your experience? So looking at what is the process in terms of accreditation? One, there is the professional indexing, where KNDI recommends that you do it immediately on admission, and it costs some money. I see it's between 10,000 to 15,000. I would also be happy to hear from you how much did you pay for professional indexing. And then there's the academic completion. Once you finish your 4-year or your 2-year or your 3 years, you now have to sit for the oral exams. And I believe you also have to do internship, but I'm not sure about that. I'll be happy to hear from you. Is it mandatory for you to do the 1-year internship before you sit for the KNDI exams? Because I remember during my time, I didn't sit for any exams, and neither did I do the 1-year internship. And that tells you how old I am. So once you finish the internship, you sit for the oral and the written exams, which are administered by KNDI. And then if you pass, you have to attend the graduation ceremony, where you also take a oath of practice. So now we have the license, but that doesn't mean that that is the finish line. There's need for you and I to keep on updating our competencies. And there's a requirement by KNDI that says that you need to have 14 continuous professional development points every year for you to be able to maintain your license. And also again, you need to update your license every year. I believe it's 2,000 shillings per year. So do you have your license updated? Now, allow me to just share another story. I've been doing mentorship for the upcoming nutritionist. And one thing that has come across, it is cross-cutting actually. Our training is more aligned to the clinical setup, but ideally in nutrition, you have various pathways that you can pursue. So do you know what is your calling as a nutritionist? I am a storyteller, if you've noted. On my case, I actually started in a clinical setup, went to humanitarian, then development work, then food systems, and right now we are doing policy and advocacy. So that means I've been a jack of all trades until I finally was able to establish what is my calling. So I'll link that to mentorship. During my clinical practice, I recall there was a pediatrician who could never do a ward round without a nutritionist. And back then I was the head of department. He played a very key role in molding my confidence as well as having my voice out there. And I'm sure you'll ask me, how did I end up in clinical nutrition? I did my internship at one of the hospitals here in Nairobi. And by the time I was graduating, I knew that I'm going to do clinical nutrition. So that is how I ended up in an hospital. But after 5 years, I was like, no, this is not my calling. And that's how we transitioned to the NGO world. For those in school right now, have you started to think about what area of specialization you want to pursue once you finish your course? I would actually encourage you to start thinking about it early enough. In addition to having a mentor who can work with you, someone who's been in that field for long, and maybe somebody who has done more than 3 specializations for them now to make a decision that this is what I want to pursue. When you have a mentor, you actually have a very clear career trajectory in terms of what area of specialization you want to pursue. And I'm sure you'll ask me, which are these areas of specialization you keep on talking about? In nutrition, you can either be a public health nutritionist, a clinical nutritionist, a food systems specialist, a researcher, an academician, policy and advocacy, just to name a few. I've been running a series on LinkedIn, which I've labeled it Beyond the Hospital Walls. And this is just to demystify the myth that a nutritionist belongs in the kitchen. So in my series I've done, we are now in week 3. Week 1, I talked about what it takes to be a public nutritionist, what courses you can pursue to enhance your skills in that area of specialization. Then week 2, we dealt about clinical excellence. And week 3, where we talked about food systems approach. That is, where does nutrition come in across the value chain. And here I'm talking from food when it is being in our farms until it gets to our tables. So that nutrition come in that. It's an 8-week series, and I welcome you just to follow me on LinkedIn and get to have an in-depth on the areas of specialization. As you've learned, nutrition si wale wameanguka mtihani. You need to be good in your sciences. You need to have passed your exams for you to qualify as a nutritionist. Allow me to highlight a few things. As a nutritionist, you need to be proactive. And that means when you're still in school, you need to hear your voice. When you graduate, you also need to hear your voice. It's also good to enroll for courses that will enhance your skills. There are several courses that you can do, and they range from free courses to paid courses if your pockets allow. Let us accumulate those CPD points. I'm calling out to individuals or even institutions, and especially the individuals who need a mentor. There will be a form below with the description. Kindly fill it in, and you can start the discussions on how to embark on the mentorship journey. And together, let us mold our profession.